So just a short presentation. My name is Andreas. I live in Sweden, and I've been involved with SOFA since, well, when was that? Maybe 2016, 17, something like that. So 3-4 years. I work with Sociocracy and I work with permaculture. I am a permaculture teacher, and also I teach Sociocracy, and I consult a bit within Sociocracy. So I'm going to talk today about what I do at a school. I am a principal or a headmaster at the school, but it's not any headmaster. It is actually a sociocratic school with a selected headmaster. So my term is only until August, and then the role is open, and then somebody else might want to come in. So I'm just going to talk a bit about today how permaculture and sociocracy works together in our school at Holma. So I'm going to do a short presentation and just talk. So the talk is going to be about learning. How do we learn when we are 200 people together? How do we make sure everybody's learning in the right fashion? So I'm going to start talking about Holma over here, which is a school in Sweden which caters to around 200 students per year. We're at the moment 16 people in staff, and we have 8 member organizations, of which the Swedish Permaculture Association is one. We have the biodynamic growers, and we have organic biological growers, and a couple of other environmental and sustainability organizations. To the left is Holma, a small presentation, and we'll go through how we try to learn using sociocracy and permaculture at the school. And so I'll start here with Holma. And please interrupt me again, Pierre, if it interrupts somehow. So this is Holma. We have different locations. This is one. I'm just going to pop it a bit through. We're in the south of Sweden, in a place called Hör, where we have around 3 hectares of land. It's even bigger than this now on the map, and where we also have a farm where we do a lot of woodworks and try to repair the whole site. So this is not actually just having a school, this is also building a school. So this is where we're at, and we try to do it with an outreaching focus as well. Today we have 200 students. We are 16 in staff at the moment, and we have 8 members organizations. As I said, Permaculture Association is one of them. And so what we do here is we have a lot of students that we try to kind of move on a learning pathway, depending on where they come in. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that further on. But at the moment, I'm just going to show you a couple of video clips because of the Corona situation. We have kind of had to change our setup a bit. So at the moment, we have open learning days instead. So I'm just going to show you a bit of these things. See if we can get a video link to work. So this is, so we've started actually to open up at least once a week. We have open days for everyone to join. So this is actually our open grafting day, where we teach people how to graft trees, and we also give them the knowledge to take care of old varieties. And what they do is they come in and they graft trees, apples, fruits of different kinds, and then they leave with these apples, and they leave with the trees, and they can take them home and plant their stuff where they want to. So this is our way of kind of not being able to hold courses in the regular way. We invite everyone who wants to come and hold short courses instead. So every Wednesday we have an open days where people come and share their knowledge. So people actually bring their own stuff in as well. We also sell a lot of plants, and all courses we already have, since Sweden is one of the few countries that still is kind of open in a way. This is what we do. Courses run these days. So actually all the courses show what they're doing and teach the public. So it's a way of knowledge succession. So this is our head chef, Karin, who cooks all the food. And the food is cooked also with the course students. So this is actually a course momentum, cooking the food for everyone. And food is free for everyone who appears. So also in the corona situation, we will have problems, as it looks like, with food shortages and the likes. And this is the seed saving course momentum, checking out for the day. And this is what it looks like. It's been looking like this almost every Wednesday now in this year, 2020. Some people come by with their kids, older people come by, lots of people come by. And I'm just going to show you another clip from another Wednesday. This is actually the potato planting day. So we've had quite a huge momentum in Sweden lately, where people are starting to plant lots more food because we anticipate a food shortage because of the lack of workers in the agricultural sector. So actually this is us giving away potatoes to everyone who wants to have some. We also cook for people, so they come and help out, help us plant, and in the return they get a lot of food for themselves to plant. Yes, so this is a short intro of Holma. More food, always food on the table, so we come together around food. This is the potato outlet. It's been open now for months, actually, once a week. So this is Holma, a short presentation. And now we're going to how we'll work with learning. When we want to learn in Sociocracy, we use the circle method a lot. But what we do as a school, we're funded. That means we have state funding. And what we have to, one of the criteria for using state funding is that we accept people who have not finished their regular schooling. So I'm going to talk about a bit of the, well, what you can call kind of the background of a lot of people coming in. They've been working in the kind of the regular school system that has not worked for them at all. There are also people who come to us who have never been to school at all, and with all different kinds of issues and obstacles and problems in their lives. So I'm thinking the way we're entering this is the regular schooling system is often asking people the question from an early age, what do you want to become when you grow up? It's like, you're not good as you are, you have to evolve into something. Please find yourself a role, make yourself useful. And that's kind of a situation, a conversation that starts very early. And it's based on prestige and competition. And we see kids, I mean, young kids raising their hand, applying to speak, more or less. And it's a way in which prestige is tied to also failure. And everything is a competition, and it turns failures into personal issues. And it's not a learning ecosystem. It's an individual system where it's based on a hierarchical view of skills. This is why we end up with a lot of people not finishing school. It's a learning, it's an individualized learning. And we want to remove that. We want to make it into a circular system. So this is kind of top-down knowledge and education. And we try to work around that. So that's individualized learning. Instead, we want to go to it from the perspective of a safe learning culture and viewing learning as a cultural trait. And if we look back through the years, people have evolved learning from each other around the fire, evaluating the day, what have we been up to today, what didn't work, what worked, how can we better ourselves for tomorrow, how can we see to our needs. So as a group, so that's a big difference here. If you look at these images, this is also how we work at school. We check in every day. This is actually the forest gardening course, which is starting their day with a regular check-in. And this is how every day starts. We check in, we hear the needs, and before every course starts their actual year, we decide on what a safe learning culture should look like. So we have words like inviting, trusting, sharing, being good enough, staying playful. And these are terms and words and themes that we decide upon together. How safe learning should appear. And then we use the tools of sociocracy as well. So the round is a sociocratic tool, but it's also a very human tool, just sitting and listening. And that's what it's all about. It's not being able just to speak, but also learning to listen a lot. So we have different courses with different aims. So when you come into the school, usually you come in with the idea that I want to learn this, I want to be more professionalized. But when you enter this group learning culture, you enter into something else. And that's also, you enter into the individual not being that important anymore. You learn much more by being a group. You also learn by sharing mistakes. So we start the day by the circle, with the check-in, and then we end the day by evaluating in the checkout, or doing a regular checkout evaluation round. The round is also tied to this. This is the learning cycle, more or less. So this is actually how people, or any organism more or less, learns. You have an experience, and then you reflect on something, and then you decide, what do you want to do with this? You conceptualize a solution to maybe something you encountered, and you test it out, and then you experience it again. And you go round and round in this learning cycle. This is how every thinking organism works. And this is what we want to use. In sociocracy, we call it lead, do, measure. I'm just going to show you this picture of a chicken. This is the permaculture chicken. And this is the entry we use also when talking about needs. And we list everybody's needs who comes to the course. Which are your needs? Why are you here? What do you want to achieve? And then we list all the needs for every student, and we see which needs from different people converge and they work together. And from that, we can create minor work groups. So we're working on a whole school level, we're working on a course level, we're working on small group levels, and we're working on an individual level. And this is what we want to sync in a learning ecosystem. So this is, we just compare ourselves to the chicken. We have our products, our behaviors, our functions. So we list all our functions and we list all our needs. So this is the learning culture, individualized and more circular. We also look at different patterns. So looking at patterns, how we work together. I'm going to run through this. This is kind of an aha moment for a lot of people. So we look at nature's cooperative patterns. If we look at a flock, for instance, you have a lot of feeling of belonging. You have very simple rules. You have safety in numbers, and everybody's like-minded. You cannot be an ostrich in this starling murmuration. But you have the downside of caginess. And we talk about that pattern, all the different patterns we have of cooperating. And then we have the cooperative model, or the supraorganism, where we divide different chores into different roles and specializations. You have some kind of bees that do one thing, you have another type of bees that do another thing. They're very specialized, but they're all working for the same thing, and that's the whole. So we can use this pattern when we want to divide labor into being efficient. But we also have to see the downside of this pattern. That's the individual is not very important. You have a lot of the male bees that die before winter. Then you have hierarchies, where we have the possibilities of fast decisions, which can be awesome actually. And we have a chain of command that is tied to experience, knowledge, and skill. But we do not want to keep knowledge and experience from each other if you want to learn as a circle. So we have to be careful when we use hierarchies. But in sociocracy, we can use it, and we need to use it sometimes. For instance, if there is a crisis or a shortage of funds, somebody has to kind of have the mandate to push a fast direction. Another working cooperative pattern is couples, one which is very dominating in our society today. It's just a small cooperative unit, but it's highly more interdependent and very fragile. And we talk about that and how we live to all students, and how can we work with this pattern as well. One thing we have noticed is that couples coming into a course can be quite an issue because it divides up courses into different subsections. And then we have these solitaires, individualists, strong people, strong individualists that want to have a lot of space. How can we work with these? How can we invite these into a cooperative pattern that we can work with? Well, you have the downside of the individualist is that they're not very resilient, but they're highly specialized and a very good generalist. So these are patterns we talk about as well. These are cooperative patterns that we will need to use within sociocracy, all of them, as people. But if we're aware of these patterns, we can help each other point to them and see how we can use them at different times. This is the joining of frameworks. As I said earlier, in the middle here, we have the lead, do, measure of sociocracy. I'm just portraying this as a permaculture goal with the learning cycle to the left, which is actually a SADEMET circle, as we call it, design framework. So this is the lead, do, measure is actually the same. You set yourself a goal, you survey what you have, you observe what you have, the resources and limitations, and then you analyze this and see what can we do with this. And from that, you decide. In sociocracy, we decide together. In permaculture, we design. We set a design, then we implement it. We establish something, and we calculate the maintenance work that is taken. And after that, we go into evaluation and we tweak it. And from this picture, this is the road we take. If it's a course, if it's an individual learning cycle, if it's a ecosystem establishment, if it's food growing, it doesn't matter. We can use this, it's just one of many, but we can use this as a way of moving forward together. One tool of learning, which almost everybody at Holma is acquainted with. So these are also the domains. I'm going to go through them a bit. Different courses have different domains. So this is our site at the moment. The whole site is 3.5 hectares, which is quite a lot. So we have to divide it up so we don't have domains that trample on each other's toes. So this is us dividing it up in different colors, which is actually different courses and different subgroups, the responsibilities of these domains. So you have domain responsibility for roles, but you have domain responsibilities for courses, for subgroups, and it's all the same thing actually. You can be in charge of calling in a meeting and telling people to arrive at a meeting, but you can at the next day have the chores and the domain of cleaning toilets. It's also one thing with these 3.5 hectares is that we do not have anybody cleaning. We do not have a janitor. We do not have any technical staff. It's just us. People who work there, 16 of us, and around 200 students. Every need of this place has to be met by the course or by the different subgroups that we establish because of the domains. So this is actually us. This is a course given the domain to design a new area outside the house. So actually it's the course planning the school area. What will it look like? What are the needs? So they actually go and talk to everyone. What do you need? What do we need? And they call in meetings for this, and everybody's invited. So every section of the school is designed from a student teacher perspective, a need perspective. So this is just a regular sketch from one of the work groups working on this, analyzing this. So this is joining frameworks, domain with land, domain with people. Same thing. So we're looking at our needs, finishing up. If we look at, from a permaculture perspective, we look at the permaculture flower. These are all our needs and domains. We have the domain of water, shelter, waste. If you look at the lower part of this, livelihood, justice, community, spirit, health, these are usually the social aspects where sociocracy more often come in, since people are more involved from a starting point. The social side, if you look at the upper ones, we'll have more of the basic food needs, your Maslow's hierarchy of lower needs, shelter, water, energy, warmth, and food. So this is what we want to work. And since we start from the personal level, work out to group level, and also the local level where we include the local community, this has to be a spiral that keeps evolving, and it also wants to keep growing. This is a work day where we meet according, so this is the kitchen crew, and everybody wants to work with the kitchen and finish that up, they're doing it. This is the forest gardening harvesting section. So it's all open, it's like an open space. You go where you want to work, you set your domains where you are, and then we synchronize the domains so they don't trample on each other. So learning as small groups. So these are our needs, our inner needs. This is what we need. We need belonging, we need roles for succession, we need food on the table, and we need learning. We also need funding. But then we have the mission, and we have a mission from the from our board that tells us this is what you need to do, this is what you want you to do. But the board, we're also a couple of students are a member of the board. I'm a member of the board, and there are two representatives of the or delegates from the staff that are on the board. So actually, there are more people in the board that are into day-to-day activities than there are not. And this is a inviting day where we invite the locals. So this is the day where we had around 500-600 people coming in, and all our students coming back, people who leave us, students who leave us, but turn into market gardeners, to turn into catering, turn into all kinds of stuff, come back and invite, because this is an ecosystem that is based on continuation. These are needs. So we're going to move into roles and functions a bit on a more organizational level. So we have, as I said here earlier, picture on the top left. These are the designs that are working. So we're working with designs indoors. How are we going to use the classrooms and different kind of working spaces we have in all the different buildings? And we have the domains of outdoor establishments. And also this top domain here is actually us making a festival that we had to pause a bit. So how do we actually synchronize a festival as well? Then we have working days for the public and for everybody who's interested. So we come in, we define the chores that need to be made, and all the different domains, work groups come in and tells what needs to be done. And this is actually a lot of people from all different kinds of ages come in and work, around 30-40 people at this day. Also work as a learning by doing, always. This is the one of the circles where This is the student circle where the students meet someone from the staff. This day it was me, some days it was somebody else, and they bring the topic on what they want to talk about. This is not, the conversation is from the student, and it's the student domain. So this is sociocracy working in, yeah, in a multiple connected way, you can call it. So we have different courses, as I said in the middle before I finish. We have organic growing course, forest gardening course, food stuff handling course, and construction course, and transition course. And all these courses have their functions to build the whole thing. And then you have the regular circles, economy circle, and also the head of school, which is actually a need. We must have that to be able to receive funding. So that's why we have the role of the headmaster being on a succession. Until August, I'm the headmaster, but then it opens up, like I said. This is a sociocratic design of the thing. So this is actually the student circle. This is where they drive their issues. And this is where different representatives come in. So these are all the courses that are land-based, that are tied to a domain. Yes. So finishing up, I'm just going to start mentioning pathways in a bit. So what we do is, when we start up, we have group pathways and we have individual pathways. So we start every student up with finding their patterns. What led you to Holma? You identify your own patterns and your own needs. And from that, you find your own aims and your own work groups. And maybe you even change course. Maybe this is not what you wanted. That happens quite a lot. And then you design your future pathway. And this is what people work with from the start. They usually come in with their river of life, and then they design their own pathway to the future. As I said, maybe they end up being a market gardener grower, or maybe they do something totally different, but they stay connected to Holma. Then we have the group pathway, and this I think is one of the most interesting one. This is actually where courses end, and before they end, they look at all the needs they have for continuing to meet. Why do we want to meet? Would we want to continue to meet? And they list their needs, and they list their learning needs, and then actually they decide on a vision and mission and aims for continuing meeting. And they identify the different possible patterns to continue to meet. And then they actually, quite a few courses still actually meet, and they ended years ago. And they come into Holma, and they are, so to speak, decentralized learning cultures. So this is actually them designing the future, their future path, one of them. And once again, coming back around the fire always, evaluating the day, evaluating the weekend, evaluating the week whenever possible together. And kind of this is what's keeping it alive. Groups that are decentralized and still working. Yes, I think I will stop there. So this is me. I will stop screen share and I will open up for some questions. Almost on time.
You can find one from Lisa in the chat, and perhaps some people want to write questions in the chat.
Thank you. Let's see. Lisa, can you explain more about the difference of function and roles? Yeah, I can. So we have quite a few functions. Those who are employed, we have different functions. So what happened when we started this was, since we do not want to be a hierarchical institution in which a headmaster decides, we asked all employees to start working on their needs for a headmaster. What is our courses or my working situation need for a headmaster? And we listed all the function that they actually needed. And we got all these functions together. We kind of made a design of what a principal should do for the rest of the organization. So that from the functions, we decided on a role. So this is in a purely sociocratic way, actually, that listing the role more or less. And we do that with more or less every role. Also the administrator, what should the administrator do? So one thing we have is like if you want to do marketing for your course, you go like advertising and stuff to get people to come in. We decentralize that. If you want to have a course, if you want to be a teacher, go ahead. But you're responsible for creating your own course. You're 100% responsible for your budget. And you're 100% responsible for getting people to attend. So it's all decentralized in that fashion, but you can ask for help, of course. So that's how different functions were put into different roles. I hope that explains a bit of the functional roles. Yeah, a little bit. Okay. Yeah, let's see, more questions. May I make an observation, or this is something else?
No, it's Jane sent it to directly to me, then I just copy and paste it for you.
Okay. Post to Chile, what do you want to be? Yeah.
Perhaps you want to say something about this.
Yeah. So
may I just say something about it?
Please.
I just want to say that when my daughter started to learn to talk, I proposed to her that when people asked her that question, that she could give the answer an adult. So it kind of, it hijacked the need to have to make a decision at such an early age about the rest of your life. And she said that, that was a useful mindset to have.
Yeah, that sounds very, very good, actually. And I think that is actually one